Hi, everybody. I'm Amy Moore. I'm a friend of the Ann Arbor Film Festival, and I'm really excited because we have one of our festival filmmakers with us today, Joesef Ouarrak. I think I said that right. We practiced before. Yeah. And he has a great film that's coming up that everybody can watch in the festival called Mum. But we were just talking about names and what your name is and, the changes of names. And I believe the film originally had another name.
Originally, I always have a problem with titles. So my titles change constantly during the writing process, and then even during pre-production, and then during production, and then probably one or two more changes during post-production. So we actually, and actually for the first time, I had a title that kind of stuck through pre-production and production and during the first stage of post production, and it was called "I Can't Take It Anymore."
Oh, wow. Okay. That one I didn't
Yeah,
know. I can't take it anymore.
yeah. And honestly, like to be honest, like I really preferred that title over "Mum."
Hmm.
Um, and then I had a bunch of comments from my artistic supervisor and
Hmm.
some people that I trust, some distributors and stuff like that. And they told me, "Oh, that title is way too long. Like, you got to make it like shorter." And so that was a struggle. So I because I really really love that title. So and yeah, so that was the big change.
So we'll talk about that because it's kind of a theme because
Right.
everybody in the movie can't take it anymore. But
Right. Right.
the title that I was going for, I think, is a Polish title.
Right.
The film is shot in Polish, which is going to
Right.
surprise everybody because we're going to talk about how Joseph is really a citizen of the world. But we're going to get to it because the Polish doesn't really figure in.
No, 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 no,
No,
no.
no. So we're going to talk about why it's in Polish. But you had a Polish title that
Right.
translated to a two-word title. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, Beswów, which is translated to unspoken,
Unspoken,
unspoken, yeah,
unspoken, and or without words, without
without words.
without words. So, and
Right.
I think that I really want to talk about without words
All
and
right.
Mum
All
because
right.
to me, when I watched this like stunningly beautiful film, it was all about reduction and
Hmm.
what isn't said and what's
Right.
taken away as opposed to what is put in our faces. So I
Hmm.
kind of wanted to talk about first the writing process because
Hmm.
you are the writer, director, and editor, and
Hmm.
kind of the producer probably too. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
But so without
Secret producer.
the secret, we always are
Yeah.
um, because there are babies, right? But
Right.
without,
Right.
so how do you write a script and look at a narrative and its structure and really get the emotional beats which you have in this film
Mhm.
without words? Because there's very few benchmarks as to where we are here,
Right. Right.
but everybody knows exactly where we are.
Right. Right.
So how was that writing process?
So the writing process was so how I start writing is that I usually start from the main character, from the lead character, which in this case was actually not the mother
Yeah.
for me; it was the daughter. Yeah, Anna is her name, and from there I start kind of building the world around her, and then I start building the narrative and the construction of the narrative from going through her character, and then everyone else is pretty much an extension of her, and it's really her world. And I was trying to um, when I was writing it initially, actually, I had a feeling that because I don't ever want to put expectations in terms of like what the outcome of the script is going to be in terms of like genre, let's say. Okay. So I thought it was actually going to be some kind of dark comedy. At least it would start that way. Um, but then as I began the writing process, when I started writing, I mean, after the research and development and character building and all that, but once I sat down and started writing the first scene down, I remember I had to kind of back off a little bit for a few days because it felt really heavy for me. The emotional impact that it had on me just when I started writing it. And then I was like, wow, I never had that before. I never felt that way before when I've been writing a script, like when I wrote for my first feature or for any of the short films I've done. And they were all like about, family and relationships and, like problems and, those hidden unspoken things in families and friendships and things like that. But here I felt like something different. And that was the reason why I really kind of put away, sorry, all kind of like conventional structures of screenwriting and all that. And I felt so free in that process. And I was like, oh my God, I'm just going to tell this story like I'm talking to someone, as if I'm like just telling the story. And that was the process, and it was really beautiful. I felt like I'm writing her diary or something like that, more than So I was really like away from any kind of like all the books I read and all the things I learned and all the workshops and all that, and it just all completely went away in this script. And I also knew that during the shooting and everything, and I had to work along with the actors, and we improvised as well. Did a lot of improvisation and things like that. Um, Obviously, keeping the structure of the scene and the flow of each character. Um, so that was a really that was really challenging to write the script. I must say. I think.
I mean, so did you sort of go big with it and then pull it back? Did
Right.
you? Yeah. So
Yeah.
were there scenes that, because a lot of times, I mean, there are moments where you do weave in and out of a
Mhm.
first person, off screen. I mean, she's on screen, but sort of an internal narrative that she
Right.
uses.
Right.
So did you go in and write what the story was? Because there's a really intense story behind all of
Mhm.
this that we
Right.
only get pieces of.
Right.
And of
So
course,
yeah.
yeah, and of
Yeah.
course, you know, in real life, if something happens to us, we don't have exposition. We don't
Mhm.
say, you were in rehab, or we don't
Yeah.
use.
Yeah. Exactly.
We just
Exactly.
talk about it.
Right.
So,
Right.
did you find it difficult to do the backstories and the story forward, not using many, because you have to give cues to the audience as to where we are? Was that difficult?
That was so actually like to tell you what the script actually looks like, it's a lot longer than the film. So there are three scenes um from page 1 to about 18. So there are 18 pages that are not in the film. And that was just for me. I didn't even show it to the actors or anyone else.
Oh
I mean,
wow.
I talked about those scenes with two of the actors who are involved in those scenes. Um, but I wrote it as if I would actually shoot it. So I wanted to have that complete story for myself. So that way there is that complete story from beginning to end. So it's not like just okay, we don't know where she came from, rehab or not rehab, or
Well,
she
I
just
don't. I said
yeah,
rehab, but it's not. I don't. It's not.
yeah, but
Yeah,
it could be,
right. It could be
um,
rehab.
it
Yeah,
could be rehab,
but
yes.
I don't think it is. I was just saying.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
No. I
but it could be, it could be.
no. Yeah.
Um,
No. I have
so
a, I
yeah,
have
so
a
there
different
are.
idea about it.
All right, all
Yeah.
right. I'm interested to hear your idea.
Yeah.
Um, but the script does have a lot of scenes that were not integrated into the film.
So most of the people watching this interview will probably be like savvy in terms of filmmaking, but
Right.
let me be a little pedantic at the
Okay.
risk of, you said 18 pages, and so generally, and this is well, no, you're probably shooting a page a minute. So you think about this film. I think it was 103 minutes. I can't remember. It was around there, 100 and
No, it was more around 75.
oh, 75. Okay, I probably did an hour and something. So
Yeah.
so 18 pages would be almost 20 minutes. And so that's
Mhm.
a significant amount to really actually cut out. And how did you
Um,
decide what was to be cut out?
that was it was the things that I thought only only people within the family would really know, and not the people watching um, the film as a viewer. So it was like some very intimate information that pretty much are there in the film, like, in terms of like little hints here and there. But and the thing, I did it because I do it not just to frustrate the viewer, which actually that's what people think. Especially like, with my first feature, people think that I like frustrating the viewer, but that's not the reason that I do it. Because the thing, I'm 40 years old, and what I've gone through, and I'm sure, I'll have more life experience. But I feel like sometimes I'm 80 with my life experience. But what I've gone through and what I've seen and experienced in life is that usually, like, you never know really what's going on, in between those four walls with families or friends or even close friends or even your, siblings or anything like that. And there are a lot of things that we never know. And I feel like, sometimes in the films that I watch, it's like everything is kind of thrown at you and you're being told everything. And I'm like, that's not life. That's not, you never know even about your, partner or your dad or your mom. And then, like, in the deathbed, he's telling you something that you had no idea what, that was happening or that had happened to in his life or so, and that's the only reason, it's like, and we always wonder about, this and that, and,
So along the lines, I mean, I also want to point out that
right,
the title of the film now is Mum,
right,
right? Which is a
right,
great title because, of course, it's the mother.
right,
Mother is reduced down to mum, but
right,
mum is actually mum's the word.
right,
Don't say
her,
anything. So it works
right,
on like two levels, but
right,
it's also black and white,
right,
which is terrific because it's without color. It's
right,
without, again, that's a reduction in filmmaking as well. So
right.
you wrote the script and the story. Did you
Mhm.
overshoot as well? Did you find, because everyone should know you're both the editor too, you're both the director and the editor. So now,
Right.
as the director, did you go in and shoot more and then say, okay, I've got to take it away?
Um, so the shooting, so to refer to the black and white, um, that was a post production decision
Oh
that
wow! So you shot in color.
yeah. So we shot it in color, and the ironic thing about the whole situation is that I was also the production designer, and I'm kind of one of my, let's say, weaknesses and strengths at the same time is I'm really a perfectionist in terms of like how the image looks like and what is going on there in terms of the color palette and everything. So I'm kind of a freak with that. So I spent tremendous amount of time and months working on that. So there is a really kind of a brownish, a little warm with some cold colors there in the color version of the film, and it works differently when you see it in color.
What's the difference? I mean, how do you?
I felt like it gives away too much, the color one. I felt like um, I felt like the stories doesn't match the picture. It looks nice. I mean, it looks pretty, And I had to argue and fight with a lot of people, especially my DOP, um, to finally convince her that it should be black and white. Um, because the image does look pretty, but I feel like it's even like a little distracting because it looks a little too pretty. So I would say I didn't do a good job there because so next time I should let someone else do the production design, and because I think that the colors were too warm, and I don't know. I mean, yeah, you can tone everything down in post production, in order to adapt, and make it more. I mean, my DOP wanted to make it a little more grayish, and put a little more silver kind of tone in there, which was working. But I was like black and white, from the get go. I was like, it wasn't like like I just watched the first,
Let's pause on that word pretty though for a second, because really that house is so gorgeous. I mean, that house is like stunningly gorgeous. And I think that in color, that house could have been really the house becomes a character.
right.
So how do you use the house as a character in the movie?
So that was one of the main reasons. That's actually a really great question, because that was one of the main reasons that the house looked really, really pretty in colors. And there is one scene where the Anna, the character, she leaves the house and she's really alone. It was one of the few times that she's really alone, and during the whole film, and she steps out by the main entrance, and she's there, kind of leaning a little bit on the wall, um, and um, and the house just looked really pretty. That wood, and there's a little
Right, it's
kind of
gorgeous. Yeah.
different. Yeah, it's really gorgeous, and her character just kind of like disappeared in my eyes. And I was like, no, I'm not, I can't let the house do that. It was really, I mean, it was really, really, it's really pretty. And then when we're inside with the fire and and everything, and the wood, mainly the wood, looked really good because of, and it was matching their colors, their costumes and everything. So it was, yeah, I thought it's just too distracting. There's still my artistic director. Her name is Olga Hajdas. She's one of the greatest directors here in Poland. She also does independent dramatic films, and she just texted me yesterday because she said, "Oh, can you just send me, please, the version with the colors again? I just want to check it out." And I said, "Okay, sure, okay." So I sent it to her, and she was like, "Oh my God, I love the colors!
Yeah.
Like, like maybe for the Polish festivals or something, you can, show it in color." So yeah, they're still trying to.
I thought she was going to ask for the Airbnb link because it's so lovely.
That
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
that too,
But it
that
but
too.
it also is just such an interesting contrast to what's going on with the family. And you have of course in the yard you have that little play set. So the childhood that is obviously really messed up, and this family that's really messed up, you have that kind of echo of the childhood constantly, and then you've got this gorgeous house. But I think it's interesting that you wrote the piece around the daughter, right?
Right,
Because there are two daughters, right?
right, right.
So how why two? Why didn't you just stick to one daughter? And is the daughter your favorite character? Is there a favorite character? Or is it the aunt, or is it the mother, or is the like
Right. My favorite character is definitely the daughter. Yeah, definitely. I'm always biased towards the character that I start the story from. It's always like that, and it doesn't have to be the main character. Sometimes I start from a supporting character, and then it just comes out another way. So, but I mean, because actually the lead character is her mom. Technically, I mean, she has a lot more screen time too than so she's not the lead character.
but you end the film on her.
I do end the film on her, and that shows, that I like her more than anyone else. Um, I'll tell you about that scene in a second. That last one. Actually, no, because then I'll spoil the end. So maybe not. But uh, about the why. It was because I wanted to show as well with her sister. She's this younger sister. She's a teenager. She's also going through some other troubles in her life, and I also wanted to show what kind of um, impact that her mother put on her, and she's kind of like the mother figure to her sister. So I just wanted to kind of give a little hint in that sense, like what is going on inside, like in her like future motherhood um, 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 side of her character. So that was the reason why I included this daughter, and that's why she has this thing that goes on, and we're looking for her and things like that. And I felt that she was really important to the story, and I don't see the story without her sister. Because there will be that missing emotional piece about her care and about her, that she's not like her mother, and she does protect her and care, and she's there with her all the time. She's the one who jumps up and gets all worried during this one scene, and so that's the thing.
So it's interesting because whenever I deal with filmmakers, or I teach writers, or I work with scripts, I always say to, and I do it around the world, and I always say to people that the more local you become, the more universal the film gets. So the more specific you, because we all understand a wedding, for instance, or we all understand family conflict. So the more specific we are, the more universal we become. But in some ways, you've stripped out so much, and yet I find it very, very universal. Like the details are there, but they're so perfectly chosen, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's actually really, I think, interesting. What I just wanted to talk about that ending scene that we don't want to give away.
Right.
Right.
I'm not going to do it.
How do we?
I tend to
How do
be
we
pretty
stay,
good with not spoiling
right?
films and endings and
How do we stay mum, right, on the ending? But
yeah. How
do
do
you
we stay
think it's a
well?
positive ending or a negative ending? Let's just go there.
Yeah.
What's the takeaway?
Yeah. So what's the takeaway is that there is life, and there's life and there's hope. Yeah. Despite the downfall of the character and whatever happened to her in her life. She gets in a car, which see, I'm giving it away,
Right.
but yeah, I'm not gonna, I'm gonna try hard. But it's a sense of having that hope in
Do
life,
you think
which
she's
we should always.
resolved what's going on?
Right, and it's like facing the real issue, and you got to take some steps in life in order to face your problems, which can be very harsh and tough to face. And usually we're outside this sphere with our problems, and we don't really dig inside. And outside this sphere is usually just anger, distance, ignoring all those things that are happening. But and there's a process, and each person has a different process in terms of what to do, whether it's therapy, whether it's traveling, whether it's talking to friends, whether it's going and talking to the person you have a problem with, or if it's yourself, so talking to yourself in the mirror, whatever the case may be. And then you're digging deeper into that sphere, and it might seem scary. Yeah. So yeah. So the ending is about hope, facing the fears that you have in life, um, and moving on. Yeah. Whether it's going to be resolved completely or not is not the point. Yeah. The point is just to face your problems, and that's the hope. Because if you do that, you're already taking a step forward in life. You're already doing a lot better than if you're just stuck there with your issues and you're ignoring them and all that, because that's in the long run that's going to hurt you a lot. So So that, and that's kind of, the thing that um, I've encountered. I always, I listen a lot to people. I've always listened to a lot to people since I was a child, and so I have like million stories in my head. Um, and my friends told me that I should have been a therapist or something.
That's funny. That's
But
great.
so
Okay.
this is my therapy. Is
Okay. All right. But okay. Why a Polish film? Why?
why
Yeah.
Polish
Could
film?
you just,
Uh,
is it a matter of getting the money in Poland, or what was it?
no, no,
Okay, so
no.
everybody in the audience Joesef was born in Sweden. Has Moroccan heritage and I think a passport. You said he has Moroccan parents, so that's a big influence. He grew up. You sound very American in a way,
In a way,
in a way. So he went to school, I know, at least in San Francisco for
right,
BFA,
right,
and suddenly he makes a Polish film.
right.
So hello, what
So
is that?
what is that? What is that?
Do you speak Polish?
I understand it. I understand it. People here think that I do speak it, but I never. I don't speak it because it's a really tough language, and the ending changes according to what you're saying, how you're saying it, and it's for me it was really tedious when I was like
So you wrote the script in English,
I did write the
and
script
did
in
the
English.
cast speak English?
All the cast spoke English, but we had the script translated. So I have my translator that I've been working with for many years now, and I don't just give her the script and for her to translate, but we sit down and we kind of go like almost line by line, and I'm making sure that it gets translated the right way. And So I do love that process too, because it's a little bit of a script doctoring during for me. Um, and I try to be very neutral with it. So there are a lot of changes too that happen during that process of during the translation. I'm like, wait a second, no, that doesn't work. Okay, wait, we got to change that. Yeah. So then so there's another draft that happens during that translation. Um, but my story with Poland is that, yeah. So I was in San Francisco and I went to the Academy of Art University, and then right after graduation, so the day after, I mean, I didn't care too much about the degree or whatever. I just wanted to do the film school. And then I knew that the real life begins like once you get out there and you start working and whatnot. So after that, I actually, I think the graduation was like May 10th or May 11th or something like that. And I literally packed my bags and left to LA the day after. Um, and I got to LA, and I had a script that I was trying to sell or auction. And back then it was a little easier than now.
Now it's really hard.
Yeah, now
Yeah.
yeah. So at least there, like during that time, which was in 2010, I think, no, or 2009. Um, you could do the cold calls. I remember I talked to a few executives, and I had a couple of meetings. I got through that gate. That is really hard to get through. I had like some really nice encounters with people in relativity media, for example.
Great.
Um,
That's great.
yeah, that's great. And I got to talk to some great producers.
Very, very mainstream for those people. Yeah,
Right,
listening.
right, right.
Yeah.
So I haven't been to LA for a while. Still have contact with a lot of people, but they told me that now it's like a totally different scene, and it's really tough there, yeah, to get out. But so then while I was there trying to do that, I also was doing some ghostwriting on the side and hustling, and going to an American film market and standing by the parking lot in all the studios, and what everybody does pretty much. So. Yeah, and I met a Polish girl who I've known for a long time, and I just ended up for some reason, I was young and I don't know. I just packed my bags and left with her, and we had a child, and we got married, so we moved to Poland, and then I had another child with her. So I have a boy and a girl. Now they're 10 and 12, and I got divorced a few years ago, and but my kids are here. Yeah, so I tried going LA. So I did go to LA after that, and I was there for 4 months, and I actually had some pretty good things going on there, and I had something that was cooking, and but I miss my kids way too much, and I just packed my bags. I remember, and I just left. I said I can't do it.
Do you think the film is different because it's in Poland, in Polish, or do you think it would? I mean, it's more mysterious to me because I'm reading
Mhm.
subtitles. But do you
Right.
think that if you had done just this blowout American film, that it
Hmm.
would have a different tenor to it, or do you
For,
think that?
for sure, I think it would definitely have a different feel. It would play differently for sure. I would probably feel like I could maybe um, let's say tackle different sides to the characters that I wouldn't be able to do here.
Hmm.
But I do understand the culture and the traditions here and everything. And I think I let's say in the U.S. I would I think maybe do it a little better in terms of character building and all that because I think the way I understand things and the way I I've lived in Sweden and Finland, which is kind of similar mentality. That's a little bit colder, but it's the general kind of Western mind. So here it took me some time to in order to understand the culture and things. But Poland is changing real fast, yeah. So it's becoming a lot more Westernized in that sense, especially with the younger people. Um,
So with you and with this movie, I think that they're probably wanting us to wrap up a little, but I think with
right.
you in this movie, whatever I've left out, that's a good thing, huh?
Yeah, exactly,
Like,
exactly,
so I'll
exactly.
let people wonder. But
Yeah.
seriously, what have I left out? What are you working on next? What I mean, what would you ask you if you were interviewing you?
If I was interviewing me,
Yeah,
I think this film kind of made me feel like I'm good
you're
with
very good.
I'm good. No, no. I
But
mean,
you
no, not in
are.
that sense. But I'm done with like I'm done with the family dramas, and I think I've expressed everything I wanted to express in my two features plus my shorts in that sense. And I think I'm ready for the next thing. And because I don't feel I have it in me, because the way I write is that there's always like something that is like screaming from the inside, and I need to do it and I need to write it. I mean, another time, maybe we can talk about the challenges that I faced to make this film. But it's like, once I set my mind to it, I'm like, I'm shooting this film. That's it. Like, now I set my mind that I'm shooting my next film, which is going to be a horror film,
Ah,
and so I'm going into horror, which is my next thing, and I have my script, which I've been working on for almost a decade, I think,
is it
which
in
is
English?
it's in English. It's a prehistoric script, uh, and it takes place 40,000 years ago, and it's very challenging to shoot it or to make it because it's kind of a high budget thing, and this is for Hollywood. This is for LA. Probably, I won't even be able to direct it. So, but
Mm. You
you know,
certainly have the calling cards.
right,
You really
right,
do. Yeah.
right.
So
Thank
there are a lot of people that write scripts and say, "Oh, I want to direct," and
right,
and you just go, "Why?"
right.
So,
Yeah. I mean, you never know. I mean, I hope I could because I don't think I'm going to be able to write another script like that.
mhm.
It's very
I'd love
complicated.
to read it actually.
Oh, I'll
Yeah,
definitely, I can send it to you.
yeah.
I recently just published it on Blacklist, and I
Does
got two
everybody know? Do you
sevens.
want to tell us what Blacklist is in case people don't know?
Oh yeah, Blacklist is a it's a screenwriting platform for screenwriters, and it's a place where the industry goers kind of go there, and they try to look for fresh new ideas and screenplays, and it's really a great platform. And I know a few people who started there, and they got their stuff published and optioned and sold and produced. I also made a connection with kind of an A-list actor there in Blacklist. I mean, nothing happened, but it's just like I'm in contact with him and his
Well, maybe
agent,
he
so
could be
that's
in
great.
the prehistoric.
I tried to attach him, but it didn't work out.
Right.
I tried. But he recently, actually, his agent recently wrote to me, and he's like, "Hey, can you send me a link to Mum?"
Oh,
Um, and
great.
yeah, so I sent it to
What
him,
can
and
you say? What agency or no?
I,
No. Okay.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
no. So
Well, that's great because then maybe he'll pick you up.
maybe,
Yeah.
maybe, yeah. So I'll be happy to share the script with you, and I can send it. You can tell me what you think. I got really excited the first time I sent it out to someone, and it um was one of the was what was it, script reader or we screenplay or something like that. But and it was my first. It was the first draft that I sent out, and then I get it back, and it was like midnight or something, and I opened the email. I'm like, all right, let me see, and it's like I really like I can send you that too, and it's like I scored like only tens on in every category, and I'm like, and then the person is like, yeah, this is like Academy Award level screenplay,
Wow.
and I'm like, wow. And so recently I worked on a lot of drafts later, and I put it up on Blacklist, and I got two sevens, and one of the readers, he said as well that this is Academy Award material.
Wow.
um and he said, oh, it doesn't even need an A-list star for it.
Well,
He
it
said
sounds like
maybe
it's
like,
very high concept, and a high
yeah,
concept doesn't always need a star. You know,
right. I'm just worried about the
don't
whole
be.
thing, because it's very original,
Yeah.
and in terms of story and the world and everything. And I'm
You've
worried because
registered
I
with
heard,
the WGA, and you've.
yeah, and I heard that Spielberg has maybe a script and something going on there with Neanderthals and stuff, and I was like, oh my god, no, please, if that comes out, I'm screwed. I'm like, yeah, because then it's if it comes out and it's like, then I send it out, then it's like that, okay, so but if you're the first person to kind of show that kind of world that way, and if Spielberg comes out with the film about that world, I'm like, okay, yeah, well, what can I do?